how that is. See if we have any luck. Oh, it's not. Oh, that's right. Different URL. All right, that's there. Yep, that seems okay. Good. Let's see if the chat's there. So I think everything's set up and ready to go. Welcome everyone to the Friday anime stream. As always, this is just a chance to hang out and drink some tea and talk about what's going on in anime. Hey Jay. Hey Mark. Nope, I literally just started. And in fact, I'm going to go right now to Anime News Network and check out the news of the week. See if there's anything to be remarked upon. You know, there was at one point a way to filter this. News, interest, chronological archives, is that it? There's that. News, there we go. That's much better. Okay. So let's see here. But the question is, how far back does it go? Only like 3 days. Yes. And then. Why am I not surprised? Okay, so never mind. Oh, Digimon voice actors passed away. That's sad. New episode of Cells at Work on Crunchyroll now, or I assume now. Music producer passes away. Various simulcast announcements from Crunchyroll because the new season's coming up. Hey Mark, we are not watching anything today. We're just talking anime. We're discussing stuff. I cannot stream here on YouTube because every time I try to do that, I get kicked off. So it's not a really useful thing for me to attempt. But I basically take suggestions from the audience as to what we should talk about, anime-wise, and we discuss that. I've been thinking a lot about mecha recently. Mecha as our modern mythology, or a modern mythology, so to speak. Anything else remarkable? Previews of upcoming anime. Dragon Ball Super Film apparently did very well. New Sorcerer Stabber Orphan anime series. That's interesting. More talk about the whole Project H fiasco. The Monster Hunter film's done shooting. That's cool. Not exactly anime related, but you know what it is. No, I do not watch JoJo. I'm afraid. I'm not really a shonen guy, personally. Not seeing a lot really to talk about here. News-wise, let's just click through. The voice actress who played Taichi in Digimon Adventure passed away. That's sad. She was also did a lot of stuff in the 80s and 90s. 3x3 Eyes, Cat's Eye, Zatch Bell, Glass Mask, Wicked City, Space Adventure Cobra, Outlaw Star. She was Hot Ice Hilda in Outlaw Star. Mamiya in Fist of the North Star. But she also worked in Allison and Lilia. And she was Big Mom in the Fishman Island arc of One Piece. That is unfortunate. Hello, everyone. Christmas was great for me. Quiet, the way I like it. So no complaints there. Always nice. All right, so Dragon Ball Super Broly earned over 2 billion yen in 11 days at the box office in Japan. This is the fastest film in the franchise to hit that mark. It's already sold more than 1.5 million tickets. Sold more than 820,000 tickets in its first 3 days, earning over 1 billion yen. Its first 3 days, that's about 9.2 million US dollars. Topping the box office in its first weekend. Pretty impressive. Expecting it to earn at least 44 million US dollars. Just in theaters alone, apparently. There are 40x screenings in addition to normal ones. This is the one that was written and character designed by Akira Toriyama. So, good news on that. We can certainly talk about first anime memories, J-Biz. Good idea. Hey, Derp. Yeah, that's interesting. A new Sorcerer's Stabber Orphan anime premiering in 2019 with at least the main character will have the same voice actor as the anime from 1998. 1999 was when the Orphan series came out. Yeah, remarkable. Cool. Hopefully that does well. First anime memories. This is a weird one for me because I have multiple first anime memories. It depends on how we talk about it, how we define it. You know, I grew up loving Voltron, Defender of the Universe. That was my jam as a kid. And that was when it was still airing on American television. I'm that old. And I didn't know it was anime, though. It was just a cartoon series that I really loved. Because it was sci-fi and fantasy, and it was action, and it had lots of different interesting characters. Not as interesting now, coming back to it. I actually picked up one of the box sets a while back and watched some episodes, and I can see why it appealed to me as a kid, but it just doesn't have that kind of, that kind of appeal to me today. And so I think that primed my pump, if you will, for anime. Then later on, once I became aware of anime as a distinct medium back in the, back in my teen years. That was when I really started getting into it, and the Sci-Fi Channel would show their festivals of anime. I told the story before, where basically in the summers they would spend 1 week showing 2 anime films or an OVA during prime time, basically because it was the summer and nothing interesting aired on TV in the summers back then, and it was just kind of empty times. They just kind of threw anime up there, but they made it kind of an event and said, here are these weird cartoons from Japan. And so they showed a bunch of streamlined dubs and a bunch of random things. And I saw 3 different anime that really stuck out at me. Tenchi Muyo in Love, the first Tenchi movie, which had these characters with these crazy powers, and they were sometimes arguing, they didn't always get along. And it had that fantasy sci-fi vibe. Then Project A-ko, which was a high-budget sci-fi action story with, fighter jets and giant spacecraft and all that stuff, combined with this really goofy comedy story about squabbling high school girls. And I really loved that. And that was when I realized, and then there was Dominion Tank Police, which was an OVA that was this actually a goofy action comedy with a really serious little segment right in the middle of it. That just suddenly jumps to this it's set up, but this character starts reminiscing, and you have this beautiful little short film, basically, in the middle of this. It speaks to all sorts of surprisingly deep elements of the human condition. And that was when I realized, okay, this is a medium that I've heard of, and I clearly like the style. I appreciate it. now I want to dig into it. Now I want to go further, and now I'm a fan in that sense, right? It's not just something that piques my curiosity, and okay, I may watch something here and there. Now I'm going to actually invest some time and money in this. So I went out, and again, the camera got all. Yeah. So I went out, and after watching that Tenchi movie, I went out and watched Tenchi Muyo in Love. I'm sorry. That's what I'd watched originally. I went out, and Amazon had just opened its anime category. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's anime on DVD category. They had anime, I think, on VHS before. I think. No. It was their first. Within video, there was now an anime category for the first time. They had DVD in there. And they just released the Tenchi Muyo Perfect Collection, which was the first 2 OVAs, plus the Mihoshi Special, which is a single episode thing. And so it was available for only $100. You could get these 2 OVAs together. And that really, that blew my mind. Because it was so cheap given compared to a lot of other anime. I'd actually picked up one of the VHS tapes of the Tenchi Muyo OVAs, and it was like $30 for the first 2 episodes. So this was incredible. So I got those DVDs, and then I got my wisdom teeth pulled. And so I spent that weekend watching the Tenchi Muyo OVAs, and those just spoke to me. The fact that was it had action, it had comedy, it had a little bit of romance. But I liked the characters, like as people. I wanted to spend time with the characters. The setting was inventive and different. That just formed a deep love in me, to the point where I'm now reading the Tenchi Muyo light novels. I bought those, and I got through the first 1.5 novels of that. Jacob, you trolling? Because if so, you're not doing a very good job. So that's really where I got started, and I can't remember what was that moment when I realized that anime was, this distinct artistic style. I think read about it in magazines, and I'd come across it generally in pop culture. The Unlimited Hyobu Kyosuke. I've never heard of that before in my life, which is one of the things I love about anime, is that no matter how deep you get in, there are always deeper places to go. Is that Zettai Karen Children? Looks like it. Of the Unlimited. So is Zettai Karen Children like a related, like a spin-off or something like that? Jacob, you say it's extremely superficial. Compared to what point in anime? At what time in anime was there not a lot of superficial anime? Because there was a lot of superficial stuff in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, the 2010s. Like, that's always been true. But we're also getting, wolf children, right? There is stuff that speaks to the depth of the human condition. It's just not, whatever Shonen Jump is making right now. Oh yeah, Tenchi Muyo is the harem anime I like far and above any others. There are other harem anime I enjoy. Oh gosh. Samurai Harem, which I don't really like that name. It's a weird perversion of the original title. It's a fun harem series. I enjoyed it, but Tenchi definitely worked very well. It was the spinoff of Zedek. Okay, that makes sense. And because Tenchi was technically the first harem anime, it's not what harem has become, which is guys surrounded by girls, with no clear sense of where all that's going. '95 and '08 had tons of superficial anime. We can go through the list of all the anime that was released between '95 and '08, and we'll find tons of superficial stuff. Yeah, exactly. There is no period in which anime was better or worse. There are trends and there are ups and downs, right? Any other harem? Yeah, Samurai Harem I enjoyed. Love Hina never really did much for me. So the thing about Tenchi Muyo is that it's not Tenchi is not seriously interested in most of the girls in the harem, and most of the girls are not seriously interested in him. Mihoshi is not really interested in Tenchi. Sasami's not really interested in Tenchi. She admires him like an older brother, and he has a similar kind of sibling thing, but there's no physical tension between the two. And that's what I like, is there's not that weird will they, won't they between that. It's really Tenchi and two others. And sometimes a third that they throw in. Let's see here. Other harem anime. I'm looking at my manga wall. For harem that I've enjoyed, can't really think of any others, obviously. They're just really, let me look up harem anime. I mean, I've caught bits and pieces of various harem anime, and there's nothing, that's fine. Harem anime list. Let's try Mal. Recent stuff I generally just kind of avoid, because it doesn't really appeal. I guess, well, yeah. High School Double D, just not interested. Toleveru, not interested. The characters all didn't seem particularly different. Again, nothing against it, but the problem with and that's the other thing, is that so much harem anime is there's not much else going on in the story outside of the harem, right? And what I like about Tenchi is that there's this big world and setting and all this stuff going on around that harem. It's not a harem anime. It is a sci-fi action comedy with harem in it. And that's kind of what yeah, and that's the other thing, is that Tenchi has character and personality, especially as the franchise develops, much more so than the typical harem protagonists today. Because modern harem protagonists are much more meant to be stand-ins for the viewer, and Tenchi is not. Tenchi is his own person. He refuses to choose a girl, but that's very deliberate. That's part of his personality. That is his way of protecting those girls. Yeah, there's not much other harem I've really seen. Partly because just either the premises didn't really attract me, or just seemed like, an excuse to have a bunch of cute girls around. Ranma's technically a harem, but Right, exactly, Matt. That's the thing. Zero the Familiar. I want to get into Zero. I have not yet checked that out. I've heard very good things about Zero. So yeah, Spin. I would agree. I haven't seen the that video, but there are certainly periods where where we got more interesting stuff than normal, but there was still a lot of bad, a lot of some good, as all that kind of stuff. Let's see here. But it's one of the reasons why I think harem is starting to wane as a defined subgenre, right? We're not seeing as many specific harem anime. We're seeing anime with harems. There's an isekai series. There have been a couple of isekai series lately. In fact, a lot of the isekai series tend to be harem series, but they're more isekai than harem, right? Harem is just an attribute of that. And that's where I think that's going to go. Is there's not too much to do with a harem series if all you're doing is focusing on a relationship that never goes anywhere. Yeah. Something somebody brought up. Something was overhyped. See, I don't know. I'm not sufficiently tied into the hype train to know what is or isn't overhyped, and I don't really pay attention to that anyway. You know, if somebody's hyping something to the moon, I say, okay. You know, I might like that, I might not. That doesn't really have a connection to my, you know, to whether I'm gonna like it or not. So it doesn't really matter that much, to me. Yeah, no, I'm with you, Derp. That's another problem I have is that those character archetypes in harem shows are often characters that just don't appeal to me as people. They are, you know, the characters are meant to be archetypes, not meant to be people. It's one of the reasons I liked Samurai Harem is that while, I mean, it's 12 episodes, there's not much time to get into any of the characters. Each of those girls has a different relationship to the main character, and there's, again, really only a will they, won't they with the two oldest girls. Samurai Harem is basically a guy who is basically Kenshin from Rurouni Kenshin, ends up staying with 4 teenage girls, who are all sisters, all part of the same family, and they're all samurai, basically. Modern day, though. They're just from traditional families. And so the oldest is a very traditional girl. The next oldest is kind of the rebel. And so you have that, you sort of Yamato Nadeshiko, you know, oldest girl thing, where she's very prim and proper. And the main character is constantly stumbling around and being kind of an idiot, so she doesn't like that. But she appreciates that he's an upstanding, upright kind of guy. Rebel girl is very much wants to fend for herself, wants to be independent. But she's just getting to that age where she wants some companionship. Next girl is actually a budding manga artist, and she's like middle school, so she appreciates the protagonist who's like 16, 17, for his discipline, for his seriousness. But that's as far as that goes, right? There's no, you know, physical attraction. And then the youngest is like an elementary school girl, where the main character actually helps her out and rescues her in the first episode. And so she looks up to him like an older brother, like a protector, like a helper. So that's something I enjoy and like. But that really doesn't. So you can see their interactions and relationships, and they have specific personalities, specific approaches to the protagonist. But it's not a serious harem kind of a concept. But so, you know, the story doesn't have to be about that. It can be about this guy and this ninja storyline. So yeah, I have no problem with multiple girls. It's why I think Ranma worked so well, because while there are lots of girls around, it's really an action comedy, and more of a comedy than anything else. And so the harem aspect is more incidental, and the harem aspect in Ranma 1/2, and indeed most of Takahashi's work, is fuel for comedy. It's not really there as part of the plot in and of itself. And even in Ranma, that's where, you know, Ranma and Akane are the ones, you know, they are going to end up together. There's no question about whether any of these other relationships will ever actually pan out. I have not seen Toradora now. I watched the first episode and just could not get past the personalities of the protagonists. Right. I understand the, you know, hate each other, come to love each other thing, and I understand that there's, you know, there's depth and drama to that relationship, but, you know, everyone has their limitations as to what you can or can't handle in terms of different personalities, and those personalities just did not work for me. Right, Outlaw Star is a great example, where there are multiple girls around Gene Starwind, but, you know, he is going to end up with Melfina. Is that her name, I think? It's been a long time since I've seen Outlaw Star. And so it's more about their personalities going back and forth. And when you see those harems that tend to have lasted for a long time, have long franchises, the harem aspect tends to be more incidental. I know there was something else I wanted to dig into. Yeah, To Love Ru, again, just never got into it. Watched the first episode and was like, this is fine, but just, it didn't really grab me. So much anime to watch. So what is the anime that is being hyped right now? What is the big anime everyone's talking about right now? Because again, I'm not really plugged into that culture. I kind of would like to be, but not right now. So I'd be kind of interested in digging into that whole aspect of things, of what is hyped and what isn't. Part of the problem too is that, again, there is internet culture and what people on the internet talk about versus what's necessarily actually big and popular, right? So a show might be very successful, might be making a lot of money, but no one's necessarily talking about it online. Or most folks may be talking about it online and hyping it because of certain attributes, not because of the show's like quality, for example. Yeah. Yeah, Monogatari is just the Monogatari series is just so well made. That's a poor choice of words. It's so interestingly visually presented, right? That you can just watch it for that. What is Yojo Senki? Oh, Saga Tanya the Evil. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I like the first episode of that. Again, personality of Tanya was something I would have to get used to. But that's interesting. It's certainly an interesting concept. DBZ, One Piece, Academia, Attack on Titan, sure. JoJo, yeah. All shonen. All long form shonen, right? Yeah, Death Note's more or less died out fan-wise. And that's the problem, is that shonen tends to be the thing folks go nuts about because it is long-form serial, right? Because there's something new to talk about every week, so it's easy to, have a Tumblr. It's easy to talk about it on Twitter, to say, oh my gosh, here's the next thing going on. There's just... it's ideal for internet chatter. It's one of the reasons why I think those things have lasted for a long time. But you're not going to get the kind of discussion you're going to get about something that's more interesting, something that's like the life of Budori Senko. I'm forgetting the name. Anyway, yeah, there's that. I'm watching a movie from a year or two ago that's a really weird movie about cats, anime technically. Yeah, Made in Abyss, that's true. Made a big splash when it came out. I like Girls Last Tour, which is sort of Made in Abyss adjacent. That just really, the aesthetic of that really appealed to me. Goblin Slayer certainly seems to be one of the big ones of this most recent season. I've not kept up with it, sadly. I would like to, but I've been busy prepping for this upcoming season of Geek Archaeology and all the new stuff. Yeah, and as you all know, I tend to like the shorter, more intense, more thoughtful stuff. Ergo Proxy, etc. I think we're gonna watch Ergo Proxy on Anime Club in the new year. I think that'll go on the list because that was interesting enough that it's worth both watching, and that group discussion would be good. I doubt Tanya will go insane. just because that doesn't seem like the kind of concept. It's an interesting idea, but I don't think this is the kind of concept where they will, you know, they will close it off that way. Yeah, I believe winter is usually a season of. It's a slow season. A lot of sequels, a lot of kind of also rans. There's sometimes one or two, surprises in there. But I think winter's usually kind of a slow season. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, Boogie Pop, though. Looking forward to that. Can't wait to see what they're going to do with Boogie Pop. Yeah, that's an interesting point, Jay, actually, is getting into what we value in anime, what we like to find. Because that's one of the tough things about being an anime fan and being in anime fandom is that you want to talk about anime to somebody and find out that they have their values are very, they like anime for the action and that's it. I had some friends like that at a job where we both liked anime. We both liked similar anime in a lot of ways, but they were just there for the fight scenes. And I was like, that's okay. So you seem to end that way. Oh, interesting. Cool. Good for them. For me, I think so. I'm curious what you guys, what you guys value. Do you like a show with complex characters? I should say, do you like? That's poorly phrased. When you think of your favorite anime, what do they tend to have in common? Is it complex characters? Is it philosophical meaning of life stuff? It is and these are all things that you might like, but it's what kind of bubbles up high. Action, relaxation, beauty of the art, all those things. Right. For me, I would say, I definitely like anime that is visually distinctive. I'll go one further. I like animation that is visually distinctive. One of the reasons I liked anime is that it was a departure from the animation I'd seen. I like anime that gets at fundamental questions of human existence. So, Jay, you're talking about life struggles, and I think that kind of splits where some people like everyday life struggles of, oh gosh, I'm a 15-year-old and I'm trying to prove myself, and then there's, what am I trying to do? What is the meaning of my decisions? And it's that latter that I gravitate more towards. Surrealism, that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely enjoy that. I don't know. And again, I think I like anime with a touch of surrealism, where strange things can happen, but the entire thing isn't surrealist all the way through. I recently watched Cat Soup, which is basically a surreal OVA all the way through, and it was kind of a chore. Yeah, Girls Last exactly. I think it's one of the reasons why I ended up watching all Girls Last Tour, is because it did end up getting about some pretty deep questions of meaning in our lives, and the stories don't have to answer those questions. They don't have to dig too deep, but I like to at least touch on some of those things. To me, if you're gonna make art, try for something that is interesting. Personality, yeah, personality. And this is something where I've evolved over time, because I've seen enough anime now, and I think this is true of a lot of you, where personalities that I used to enjoy, I've now realized are cliches. And it's not that a cliche can't be done well, it's just that's now a larger hurdle for me to jump over. You have to prove that cliched character is doing something interesting, doing something worthwhile in the story, whereas before it was just, oh wow, that's a weird personality. So yeah, Paranoia Agent, there's a great example where most of Paranoia Agent is basically a psychological thriller mystery story, But once you get to the end, you realize, oh no, this is about, you know, a certain character's deep psychological, you know, issue. And several of the episodes would have a, actually, I take that back. Most of the episodes had some psychological element to it. But the overplot was a mystery until the end realized, oh no, the mystery actually does have a psychological element to it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Tokyo Godfathers definitely has a, that's interesting, yeah, because you're absolutely right, because much of Tokyo Godfathers, without getting to, no spoilers, but much of Tokyo Godfathers is about those daily life struggles. And then at the end you realize, oh no, this is about showing them how those daily life struggles are a symptom of their deeper psychological issues. Summer Wars has a little element of that, where initially it's just about this family, and then you realize, oh no, this is a movie about family, and this family, and all these characters realizing what that family means, which is what I really like. You know, many of Hosoda's works, Mamoru Hosoda's works, tend to be like that, where they have a fairly traditional adventure structure, if you will, or at least story structure, and then a deeper layer of meaning is revealed by the end. Right? Wolf Children appears to be about, you know, a woman raising children, and then no, it's about like raising children. Surprised by what characters do. Need more so that action be responsible to be justified. Yeah. That's actually a really important aspect, Jacob, of storytelling, of surprises that aren't random. Like you can make surprises where characters just act completely randomly, you know, every 5 minutes. But that's not satisfying. It's when those surprises fit the characters, but just the viewer was expecting a different perspective. And this is actually something that is hard for people to understand, especially actors to understand and writers to understand, that actors and writers and storytellers often want consistency, right? They want the characters to just be this, because that's easier. And we think, or, you know, we live in a world of consistency, essentially. And we would think that people want that in their fiction, but we actually don't. We want to be surprised. We want something that's unexpected. And there are lots of ways of doing that, but it requires some surprises. There's a great quote, a moment in an old movie where Humphrey Bogart was playing some ruler, some emperor of some kind. And there's a scene where he goes out on a balcony, looks out over his subjects, and has this very complicated look on his face. And he was very highly lauded in the press for just the complexity of his acting in that, where he wasn't giving a lot of stuff away. He was just, you know, he was holding it back, but also these things are playing. People were very impressed. And so somebody asked him about that scene, and he said, I can tell you what happened in that scene. The director told me to go up on that balcony, and he gave me one line of direction. He said, look bored. Now, that story itself has a surprise. But also, you know, the director knew by giving the actor an unusual emotion, it would trigger a different facial expression than the actor would normally give. And also, he wanted to try out a different facial expression for the scene and see what happened. And it turns out that just how that actor, you know, how Bogart looked when he was trying to look bored, looked like all of this stuff was going on in his head. So, you know, you can do some really interesting stuff that way by surprising the audience. You got to be careful with it, right? A lot of times folks try to surprise the audience with plot revelations, but that can lead down towards insanity as you're constantly choosing the plot in weird directions. Often you do it by just having a character do something different, by having a character be complicated, you know, by doing something that you would not expect. There's a great moment in one of the Tenchi movies where these two characters who are constantly bickering. Um, at one point, one of them realizes that she has the key to go find Tenchi, who's been missing, and the other girl can't go with him, or can't go with her. And the first girl like looks at the other like, oh, this is gonna, we've been rivals for years and years. Where this is gonna go? And the other girl goes, go now. If this, if this saves Tenchi, if this helps, go. I will sacrifice this for that. I don't have to be there. And it's a wonderful moment where suddenly she's letting go of that rivalry for the sake of the other person in a way that she hadn't before. It's in keeping with her personality, but just a deeper level of her personality. Hey, Sunil, good to see you. It's been a while. Gritty war stuff, or character drama is centered in times of conflict. Yeah, that can be really interesting. One of the advantages of a war story is that war is simple in a sense, where the sides are very clear, and the nature of the conflict, how people are resolving that conflict is very clear. Tanks or aircraft. So people can bounce their ideas off of that. They can bounce their personalities off of that conflict much more in a much clearer way than they can when you're talking about, rolling out a new product at a company, where it's just much vaguer, much more vague. Rosa Versailles, yeah. So that's interesting, Matt. In what way were you disillusioned by that cliche? Was it more that you recognized the cliche in anime and you were just kind of tired of it? Disillusion is an interesting word to use there. Oh yeah. Easter eggs, a lot of fun. More Easter eggs, please. Some people find that, I don't know. They think it's cheap, but I think it's really fun to interconnect things and pull things in. You don't have to accept the fact that a screenshot of that character means that character is really in that other world. It's just, it's a fun reference. So Neil, I could not get myself to watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes beyond episode 1. So I am not the right person to ask. But my general answer is, if you're stuck, you're stuck, right? Don't feel a need to watch something if your mind is telling you not to. Trust your instincts. Yeah, War in the Pocket. Oh boy. Well, there's almost the canonical, gritty war anime about people and personalities and bouncing off that. Because War in the Pocket is another great example of where that conflict then becomes a great reflection of the characters' personalities and what they're, what they're dealing with, personality-wise. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if your entire show becomes references to other things, and that's not the point of your show, right? Gundam Build Fighters is all about references to Gundam, right? It is built on Gundam parody, basically. So that totally makes sense. If your other show becomes just constant references, it can get dull. But I can't honestly recall a show that goes that far, where they're just constantly pulling references to other things. I think like Excel Saga, other stuff, that is built into the show. Any updates on the Pluto anime? I need to do something here. Sawa. I had not heard, but maybe I'm going crazy, that there were plans for a Pluto anime. Sorry. No, just announced. Okay, yeah, there was an announcement of a live-action CGI film in 2010. Never went anywhere. And then anime announced in 2007 at Annecy, but no news since. Nope. By Genko. Who's Genko? That sounds familiar. Oh wow, Battle Athletes. There's a. We're on Lane. Good for them. Co-producer on Lane. They did Super Doll Licca-chan, Super Milk-chan, Amazing Nurse Nanako, Space Pirate Mito, Azumanga Daioh. Mm-hmm. Help with Millennium Actress. I mean, this is working with other studios, obviously. 7 of 7, Ikitosen, Kino's Journey, Tokyo Godfathers. Wow. Elfen Lied. Kujiun. Girls High. Let's scroll down to more recent stuff. And they've been busy. Magical Girl Ore, Dies Irae, Prison School, Gate, Shimoneta, Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, SAO2. Yeah, so they've been busy, but it looks like as an assistant studio. So doesn't that maybe be their first thing? This might be their first non assistant thing. That'd be cool. Yeah. Here's the thing about Legend of the Galactic Heroes. If you're stuck, walk away. You can always come back, right? Walking away does not mean you are abandoning it forever. But clearly something in your mind is just resisting you. It's better to have the time away from it and the gap and to get excited about it than try to force yourself. I can't remember a time when I forced myself to watch something, truly forced myself, and I was glad I did. Right? It's worth taking some time off. That's totally cool. So they've done some good stuff. Genko's done some. Yeah, they've done some really interesting stuff over time. So I would trust them with Pluto. Not a lot of folks I would trust with Pluto. And I certainly had times when they're anime that I just could not get into, years ago. I watch it, I tried it again. I'm like, oh, now I get it. Now I'm ready for this thing. Akira is a great example, where I watched that like on, Sci-Fi Channel back in the day, like on TV. Just didn't like it, and it wasn't until years later that I was ready to go, and boom. I have not watched the Master Keaton anime. And I will probably wait until I've read the manga. I'm close to finishing collecting all the manga. I've just picked up volume 7, 8, and 9, I think, and there are 12 total. So I think once I finish that, I'm ready to go, and I will dig into that. Anime and video games ever? Will anime and video games ever fall in together under the same studio? Huh. I don't think so regularly. I think it might happen. I think someone might try it, but I think those are such fundamentally different technologies and storytelling approaches. I just don't see. It would be like, one company that does both novels and video games, right? Where their writers do both of those things. It just doesn't seem like it's the right thing. I watched the first episode of Legend of the Galactic Heroes, both the original and the remake, and was just couldn't care less. Some of the characters were theoretically interesting, and obviously it's a long thing, so that episode is clearly prologue. I'm not expecting the entire show to be like that, but just nothing about those first episodes intrigued me at all. It was just a null op, as we call it in programming. So, Yeah, I'm looking forward to the end of Madoka Spin to Win for multiple reasons. That's been a, but I'm really glad we're doing it. This has been really working out well. I think this process of watching anime together in in Anime Club is a really effective way of doing this because we can bounce off each other and is this boring for you? Yeah, kind of, but this is interesting. Oh, you're right. It really helps. Hey, Rockman, Rockman. Um, yeah, Anime Club's a really good way of getting through that stuff. Yeah, there we go, Jacob. 0079. And 0079, it is visually very, you know, it can be hard to get through. I know when I first started 0079, I didn't drop it, but I was very hesitant based on the art style I was seeing. And it took me a little while to get into it. But yeah, it is. I totally understand folks having problems with 0079's art style. Um, is the manga good? The manga is of Master Keaton is not like most other manga because it's like one of the things I have a deep appreciation for is like black and white movies. The pacing and the architecture of those old like Hollywood and British black and white films I really deeply appreciate. I like that they take their time, but they're not dragging it out deliberately. There's just a pacing to them, and Master Keaton is very much that. It is essentially thrillers, but they're more quiet. They're more personal. It's more about individual people and their relationship to these sometimes very bad people. And so that really just that I just love. So it's not like almost any other manga I've read. It reminds me a bit of Blam, actually, in that the pacing is just, it's this very particular pace. Let's see here. There's something else I wanted to dig into. Mm-hmm. That's a good point, Sunil. Maybe the novels might be a better approach for Galactic Heroes. My thoughts on Madoka. Not my favorite anime. I'm glad I'm watching it in that I will now have a more informed opinion about the show. But it is still not a show that I would voluntarily watch. Animation's gorgeous, and somebody said I would watch the show just for the animation, and I get that. I could imagine doing that, but just everything else about it is not working for me, and I'm starting to develop a theory about Gen Urobuchi's ultimate point in this that I have strong opinions about. Mm-hmm. Other mecha shows I really enjoy a lot. Full Metal Panic. Certain Macross series. Macross Plus, Macross Frontier. I think. Didn't look into Votoms. Escaflowne. Man, loved Escaflowne. I'm looking forward to rewatching Escaflowne one of these days. That'll be a fun experience. Especially knowing roughly where it goes and seeing the groundwork they laid. Escaflowne would be a fun one. What else? A lot of Gundam. A lot of Gundam. There's other Gundam like I've enjoyed, but I don't really like. Gurren Lagann's fun, but it didn't really bam. We're halfway through Madoka. And I'm very familiar with the basic concept of Madoka and the twist and all that kind of stuff. And, that is not surprising. I also really like the direction and editing of Madoka Magica. That whole Shaft style is something that has always appealed to me. So that is one plus for me. That's a good point, Jacob. You know, one of the advantages of a show like Galactic Heroes is that you do get characters' perspectives over the long term. One of the things I loved about Gundam Seed Destiny is that you get to spend a lot of time with the villain and understanding his philosophies about what he's trying to do. And I would argue you get probably more of that than in any other Gundam series I can think of. It made that show very interesting because you could understand where he was coming from and what his goals were, right? Anime live action series recommendations on the likes of Monster or Sawa type thrillers. Old Boy. And I think the whole Vengeance trilogy. Old Boy, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and I forget the name of the other one. Korean live action movies. Those are definitely Urasawa style. What else? I don't really watch thrillers much, to be honest. But that's what leaps to mind. And again, the problem for me is I've seen a lot of Dark Magical Girl shows. Like, this is not new to me. And, you know, not that everyone didn't have that perspective, but, you know, a lot of these tropes, a lot of the plot twists in there, I'm like, yep, like, saw that coming. So that's not really, you know, working for me. Since there's a little bit of again, it's not that every Dark Magical Girl show has to be completely new. It's that I'm a little tired of Dark Magical Girl series. So that isn't helping. All right, it's just a personal thing. And then you had that deeper thing where everyone was like, "This is the first time Magical Girl ever went dark." It's like, no. Let's see here. Something's tickling the back of my mind. Giant robot. Actually, a giant robot. I mean, it's. I would hesitate to actually categorize this as a mecha anime series, but Infinite Rebias is a show that just blew my mind in multiple angles. Good example of a psychological series. A show that's about, you know, how we work effectively as people, how we should behave as humans. And there is a mecha in it, because it's by Sunrise, and they have to put a mecha in everything. But it's not really you know, the mecha is not central to the show. Gasaraki is fascinating because it is a bunch of high-profile mecha creators coming together and making a realistic mecha series, and that's just a fascinating thing. Weird plot, bounces all around, and realistic mecha is a touchy subject. So, I should probably pull up. Thanks, Anil. Yeah, I stopped doing that because the manga reviews would get half the views of my anime reviews, and so I was like, well, if I'm gonna do one, like, I should choose the one that people actually seem to care about. Half at most, by the way. Like, it was a significant margin, dramatic margin. But I've been getting more and more people saying actually they like the manga reviews. So that could have just been a, you know, a thing. So we'll see. Couldn't get into Code Geass myself. But yeah, that's good to hear. I'm doing more stuff, by the way, on geekarchaeology.com. So I'm doing some text reviews and stuff on there where, you know, I don't really have the... it doesn't feel appropriate for the review to sit down in front of a camera because I'm not really talking about things that I can show on camera. It's, you know, it's lines of dialogue and things like that I'm just not going to put on camera because that's probably going to make the video get pulled. But I'm doing more articles on that. Yeah, and that's what I'd like to do, Sunil, is do more overall reviews of manga. The problem is, you know, that's Kenshin right there. You know, that's all 23 volumes of Kenshin. That takes a long time to get through, and so there's there's a lot of manga that I'm reading, but I don't have all of it because it's 15 volumes or 20 volumes. So as I finish more manga, I will I will do that. That's definitely my preference, is to review the entire thing. That would definitely help. And the problem is we don't get the entire manga either. Sometimes it gets scanlated, sometimes it gets released, but yeah. So I'll do what I can about those full manga reviews. It doesn't matter getting through them. And part of the problem is I'll get halfway through a manga and I'm like, I don't really feel a strong need to spend, the money or the time to get all the way through that. So there are a few things that I've kind of dropped. But hopefully that'll spin up. I've got a lot of... Actually, I'll show you. One second. We're in this other room. So I've been picking up manga. This was just... most of this paycheck's haul of manga right here. So Magic Eden 7, 8, and 9. Delicious in Dungeon 6. Giant Spider and Me, which is apparently a fun little manga. Weird sort of post-apocalyptic but light fun show manga. Mushoku Tensei. Not sure about this one. A lot of things I'm just like, I've heard about this online. Seems interesting. So To Your Eternity is the next thing by the artist who did... oh, gosh. Sorry. One second. Where's my brain? A Silent Voice. So, A Silent Voice's mangaka is doing this now, and it is a much more mythological story. Fascinating thing. So I'm going to read more of that. Delicious in Dungeon, interesting story here. So basically, characters dive into a dungeon. Bad thing happens. They have to get they get resurrected. They have to get back into the dungeon, and they don't have time to really resupply constantly. So when they kill monsters, they cook and eat those monsters. So it's sort of a cooking manga, along with sort of a D&D dungeon crawling manga, which is really cool. And the first couple of volumes were generally light and upbeat in tone, with some serious moments, some dangerous stuff. One of the interesting things is, because there's resurrection magic, characters do die in this, and you are likely to be able to resurrect them, but it's not guaranteed. And so I was enjoying that. Got up to volume 5, and that was a very plot-heavy volume, pretty serious. So I got volume 6 and was like, okay, good. This will be a release. It'll be fun again. No. Yeah, I got like 30 pages into it, and it's deep, dark plot still. So I'm gonna pause a little bit and read some more fun stuff, and I go any deeper into this. There is a Master Keaton anime. I have not seen it, so I don't know. And more volumes of the manga, coming from England, actually. The seller. So looking forward to this. I've had really good luck. I'm ordering these off Amazon, of course, and they're just pristine. And I'm glad, because these manga came out a while ago over here. Did they put this stuff in the back? Oh, actually, no. These are recent, 2016. I did not realize that. Cool. So yeah, I'm very glad I'm getting these there. I'm also buying more digital manga, partly because a lot of stuff is only available digitally. So I'm finally going to be able to finish Phoenix, and I will definitely do a review of that. I might do Phoenix volume by volume and an entire thing, because each volume is very distinctive. Osamu Tezuka's Phoenix, brilliant masterpiece. So very curious about that, but I have not read Akunohana. Nope. That was a Vila manga. I might one of these days. But yeah, I'm getting deeper and deeper into digital manga, because it's just, it's really nice being able to just flip to any given volume, issue, page, and then show it to a friend and say, oh, hey, yeah, here's the thing. Just being able to carry a whole library of manga to a convention, for example. I've got a bunch of conventions coming up in the next couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. I will not recollect 20th Century Boys with the re-release. No. I will buy manga once. I will not buy it again unless. So Blam is an example where I collected almost all of Blam in the first release, but like 1 or 2 volumes. I think 2 volumes I couldn't get, and they were like already $80 by the time I tried to get them. And then when the re-release came out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna sell all those and then just buy the re-release so I get the entire thing. Yeah, I'm not about re-releases. No, no, thank you. I understand why people do. I'm not against it. Just not for me. And any moment that stuck with you, I have dozens. Absolutely dozens. Trying to think of ones that aren't spoilers, which is a problem. Many of them are. One that changed my life comes from early in Serial Experiments Lane, when Lane is wearing her teddy bear pajamas and she's thinking about these experiences she's been having with school and with the email from Chisa. And she goes into her father's study and he's setting up a bunch of computers and switching them all on as she comes in and asks him for a new computer. And she is the classic kid asking her father for something. And he says, oh, good, you're finally getting interested in, sort of grown-up computers. Good, we'll find something for you. And he is just barely acknowledging her, and basically acknowledging her consumerism. And she's clearly worried. There's clearly a lot more going on with this request, and he should be noticing the fact that she wants a computer. But he is so computer focused that when somebody asks for a new computer, oh, obviously, everyone must want more computers. And it is such a fundamental disconnect between father and child. And I recognized myself in the father. That's what I was like back then. I had my head deep in the monitor cables and deep inside the computer. And it just made me realize, wow, I'm engaging in behaviors that aren't the person I want to be. And it really made me think about how much I notice other people and just what I do, how I behave. There's a time when I had to stop watching an anime for a while because of an anime. Don't understand the question. We're not going to second Lane, and that is good. I am very glad that Lane stands on its own. If they announced a second Lane, I would cringe. I'd be interested. I'd be fascinated to see what they try to do, but that is a thing like Casablanca. We do not need a Casablanca 2. One of the great things about that show is that it is a self-contained little piece of fascinating creation. That stuck with me. Certainly that scene from Dominion Tank Police where the villain reminisces about his birth, basically. He's an artificially created humanoid. And he was created in a laboratory as a guinea pig and basically tortured for science. And it just made me think so much about science, about ethics, and then you see what happens when he eventually gets out and the problems there and the social problems of that. Fascinating. And it was either bad or just made you question yourself. I've not seen Zega Pain, no. And I stopped watching a lot of anime because I just didn't like them. But I mean, there are dozens and dozens of those. Just didn't appeal to me. I listed a few tonight. Let me question myself again. That moment from Lane would be one, definitely. Um, wow, that's interesting, Sunil. How did it change your perspective on anime? I'm fascinated. I remember. Hmm. So what's great about anime is that there are so many different moments. There are so many different um, aspects to it that can call out to us, that can change us. You know, in Kenshin, Rurouni Kenshin, the first OVA, um, ah, seeing Shinta there among all the graves, seeing what happens before those graves. Boy, there's mm, tons of moments in the Kenshin OVA that just I will never forget. It's been 20 years now. Haven't forgotten it yet. Whew. Moments in Kenshin TV. Moments in Lane. Um, mm. It's also interesting seeing, you know, like there are moments that stick out to you for the moment itself, but also for what's implied by what's going on. Um, you know, when something happens to a character and you realize, oh, this isn't even the biggest thing going on in this character's life. um, in Boogie Bop Phantom, there's an episode where one of the characters has psychic powers. He can read other people's minds, but um, all he ever reads is the surface thoughts that are all people judging each other. You know, it's all that. Why is she wearing that? He has a haughty look on his face. It's such a drag hanging out with him, and it's just, you know, essentially negativity all day long. And you realize, oh man, that's what that would be like. You know, what a terrible power to have. And he doesn't, you know, he obviously doesn't like having this power, but he never says outright, "This sucks." You just realize it over the course of hearing all these different things in there, and it really makes you think. Supernatural powers are not necessarily being able to fly. Ramayana, Indo-Japanese collaborative movie. Is our favorite anime movie? Ramayana anime. Animated movie. Had not heard of it, which does not surprise me at all. Oh, is it this Monkey King? I'm seeing in screenshots of it a screenshot of Monkey King, but that may not be from the movie. There's another one, and this looks. I mean, there may be multiple. I mean, I'm sure there are multiples. There's one on YouTube. 1992. Adaptation of the Ramayana, the actual like the story. Okay, interesting. I wonder if the YouTube version has like subs. Let me just find out here real quick. One sec. 2 hours, 10 minutes. Looks like the entire thing. There's a version of it in English. One second. Hold on. Sorry, trying to find a thing with actual dialogue. Oh, come on. Give me some dialogue. Dialogue. Oh, good. Okay, it's dubbed. Sweet. I will put that on the list. I actually just started watching a Great Courses lecture series on Buddhism. Because I wanted to learn more about that tradition. Very good set of lectures. Just approaching it from a very academic perspective, saying that this is it's not trying to proselytize you or make you Buddhist. It's just here's what this thing is, which is very interesting. And of course, that Buddhism grew out of a lot of Hindu and general Indian perspectives on religion and mythology and so forth. So that stuff is very interesting to me. So hopefully, I will learn more about all that. All right, you've been going about an hour and 20 minutes now. That works pretty well. So, anyone have any last-minute questions? Because otherwise, I think that's a pretty good point to end for the night. Tomorrow, we'll be doing Madoka Magica, last 6 episodes. Next week, I'm undecided, so I'm going to start doing Workshop Wednesdays or World Building Wednesdays in the new year. And Wednesday will be, a new day in the new year. And I'm not sure if we're going to start it that week or the first full week of the new year. We'll see. But I might dig into that. Rare Anime, I think, should get a re-release. Honestly, I'm not sufficiently familiar with what's out of print to have a really good canonical answer to that. I would say Evangelion until I found out it's coming out on Netflix again. Sunil? Yep. More of that, please. Oh. Let's see. Yeah, Urusei Yatsura is a classic and probably should be in print again. I think all anime should be in print, don't you? Let's just put it all in print. No, Buddhism's origins are in India, northern India, actually. So, no, that's the American release. That's the vertical, I think, release of Buddha. The Chip Kid design. Beautiful. Hardbacks. Unfortunately, I couldn't get 5, 6, or 7 in hardback, and they're now absurdly expensive. But very nice version. Very should you watch Kenshin TV just to watch Trust and Betrayal? I watched Trust and Betrayal first, and that gave me a lot of context for the TV series. So I think you can watch them in any order. I think if you're interested in Trust and Betrayal, go ahead and watch it. It will not spoil the TV series. And same thing with the TV series, really, because basically Trust and Betrayal is a prequel to the TV series, and the TV series just kind of hints at that, but never actually goes there. So just go wherever you want. Yeah, I love Trust and Betrayal. That is definitely an early anime that blew me away, changed my life, literally changed my life. So I think just go for it. And honestly, the OVA's tone and the character designs and everything are so different from the TV series. It's like they're separate works, like they are related. But yeah, go for it. Then you can watch the TV series if you like the OVA. Any slice of life anime I suggest? Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko, aka Quiet Country Cafe, which is only fan subbed. Yeah, for Kenshin TV, just watch the first 2 seasons. Third season is all filler. I really liked. It's a slice of life. I really liked Isekai Izakaya from last season, which is technically slice of life. Aria the animation was sweet. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched the first few episodes and enjoyed it. Something else tickling my mind for slice of life. Actually, I'm going to recommend a slice of life manga, Yotsubato. Generally called Yotsuba over here, but the actual pronunciation is Yotsubato. It's by the creator of Azumanga Daioh, and it is a really cool, fun slice of life about a single dad, basically. The little girl is not annoying. She's just fun to watch, run around and enjoy herself. And I would say definitely this is, this would be as enjoyable as any slice of life anime you watch. So I'd go there. All right, that'll do it for us for tonight. Thank you all so much. As always, this has been great. I love hanging out with you all. So, like I said, Madoka Magica tomorrow, and then maybe I'll start something on Wednesday. Otherwise, we will see. Otherwise, we'll be back next Friday with more anime talk. And then, gosh, we've got the new season's anime watching coming up in just a couple of weeks. Do I have a calendar up? Let me just pull up my calendar real quick so I can remind myself. I scheduled that for sometime in January. It's over here. Whoop. One sec. Calendar. Multiple calendars going here. That'll be January the 19th. So in a couple of weeks, we will be doing... Oh, and that's right. So I apologize. Next week, I will be at MagFest. I am not sure if I'll be here for the Friday anime stream. I should be, but something may interrupt me for next week. So I will keep you all informed. Non Biori, another good recommendation for that. Thank you all so much. This has been great, as always. See you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.